Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, Valentina Gomez is going off, the bisexual feminist Chola from Narcoland is going on and on as usual. So, here she writes, deport every dirty Muslim, deport every ugly Somalian, deport every Haitian. Now, she thinks she's qualified to be a politician. Now, politicians are meant to serve us. They are our representatives. They are to enact what we want. And they're supposed to have a certain level of decorum. Alright? Now, she claims to be Christian. So, when she says deport Haitians and Somalians, she's also noting a bit of racism there because Haitians and Somalians are traditionally black. Now, if you're white or mixed race and you were born in Somalia, yes, you'd be technically Somalian by birthright, but ethnic grounds, you would be a little different, right? But surely there are Christian Haitians, Christian Somalians. Why is she advocating for them to be deported? But I want you to notice something. Somalia and Haiti, they're struggling right now with their economy and peace. They got a lot going on. Now, recall, Trump made a comment about the Haitians that they're eating the pets. They're eating cats and dogs. Now, there was one comment, or rather an incident, somebody was eating a Canadian goose. I don't really see that as eating a pet, because if you have a gaming permit, you can hunt those. But if they're just in the pond and you're not in a hunting zone, you should just let them be, because they're there for beauty and to, have their natural migration. So I can understand how some people think, well, why can't we just take them out of the river? But no, there's grounds where you hunt and where you're supposed to go through the proper licensing. There's regulations so that we don't overhunt them. And you shouldn't eat some who look sickly and whatnot, but some people might think, well, why not just go out and grab dinner? But we have to maintain the wildlife population and conserve some of that natural habitat so that the nesting grounds and whatnot can be held intact. But I've seen the MAGA cult, the white Christian nationalists, highlighting moments where someone from another country is, they haven't really understood that you can't just grab wildlife. Now, when it comes to pets, I had a guinea pig. I made a video. They're eating the pets, and I made a joke on myself. So I did that video if you look it up. And Peruvians eat guinea pigs. Someone asked Sheikh Hassim Al-Hakim the other day if you could eat guinea pigs. He said no, because they're related to mice. But guinea pigs, to me, are more similar to rabbits than mice, and squirrels. And I wouldn't eat my guinea pig unless I was starving. I don't have any more guinea pigs. I think they are now a creature who needs an outdoor habitat rather than a large indoor habitat, but I digress. Point is, Peruvians eat guinea pigs. In America, they're just adorable little fat, fluffy, buffy cuties. Now, there have been, assertions made on Asian countries for the dog and the cat remark, but it technically was a Haitian who they say were eating pets. When you really take a step back, you look at what we're allowed to eat in Islam, and then that's what we're going to eat by. Now, exotic meats are kind of fun. Now, we as Americans have a very tight relationship with canines, for example. And I believe China has ended their dog eating meat festival. From my last insights, I remember some reporting on it. But when you look at the intelligence of a pig, intelligence of a cow, you get into a little bit of semantics. Because we as humans, we're over the animal kingdom. We all share the planet. We'll be held accountable for how we treat animals. Okay? But I don't get too posh when someone decides to eat a certain critter. I wish I could eat a whale, an orca. I would love to try that. Heck, I would eat an elephant. I would love to try giraffe. As long as it's safe, ain't got no parasites, and it's cooked properly to where I don't get E. coli or salmonella, food poisoning, then I'm gravy. Let's go for it. And as long as it's permissible in Islam, I'll try it. It's fun. So, you have to understand these kind of comments that she is making. There's a history behind them in the right wing in America. So, if you're not familiar with the history of American rhetoric concerning the Somalians and the Haitians, then this may seem as like just plain general racism, but it's actually been built up by the right wing who claims to be these loving, pacifist, Jesus freaks. And I use the word Jesus freaks as in people who are very passionate about Jesus. That's what we call them in America. I'm not calling them a freak because they believe in Jesus, because I wouldn't slander Isa Jesus, peace be upon him. But I'm telling you that phrase they're like people who are very hyper cheerful, like hyper focused on Jesus as an individual, right? They don't focus on any other prophet or any other fact of the Bible. It's just Jesus Christ is King stuff, They're not familiar with anything else about the Bible except for Jesus, right? So when she writes here to deport Muslims, Somalians, and Haitians, now Muslims, we come in all races. Italian, Chinese, Japanese, you name it, Malaysian, Indonesian. So, she's widening the net even further. And to deport someone for being a Muslim, you're violating the First Amendment. Again, these right-wingers think they're clever because they're saying, let's just target Muslims. It's like, You don't see them say, let's target the occultists, huh? You ever notice that? Let's target, people who truly believe in Shaitan. No. She's not into that. Now, mind you, she's advocated for attacking Muslims more than she's advocated for tackling the narcotraficantes of Colombia, right? She has not advocated to go to war with the narcos who've been holding Colombia hostage. Rather, she's decided to come as an immigrant to America, take money from a foreign nation to cause strife between Muslims and Christians who are born here. That's something to be really suspicious of. Where someone doesn't talk about making the lives better for people in Texas, because that's where she's running. She's not focusing on lowering your electricity bill, expanding food banks, working on picking up garbage in the streets, covering graffiti, expanding childcare, regulating childcare to where it's safer, cleaner, and where the workers are paid better, giving women vouchers so that they can save some money with their daycare, improving school lunches. Because some of the things our kids eat, you wonder if this has been fed to a prisoner or if it's being fed to a school child. She doesn't have that motherly, let's fix things for moms. She's not for women. She's not trying to help women. What she is doing is trying to get Christian men riled up to the point where they will go to Iran and they will reinvade Afghanistan to take that strategic military base so that they can play games with China. Notice, her objective is not to make lives better for Texans, but to make them perpetually angry against people for simply being Somalian, Haitian, or a Muslim. So she's targeting people based on religion and ethnicity. The weirdest part is, truly, when you study the different shades of or spectrum rather, of right-wing rhetoric. There's a pernicious tone of white supremacy. She thinks that she will be spared the very same things she's putting out. Now, I want you to notice something here. Valentina, one day, will have kids, if Allah permits her to have children. Her children will most likely be Latino. She may become mixed race, or marry a black guy, or marry Chinese, but her kids will present as Latino. The very same bigotry she pushes, her children could feel. And that's how you know she's not intelligent. Because what happens if her children grow up to be Muslim? The very same vitriol she spewed into the world could cause her children to be targeted, murdered, horrifically treated. And that is not good. See, you people got to be so careful when they push racism and this sort of absurd prejudice towards people simply for being Muslim. Because you don't know if one of your family members is going to become that, and you got to be able to maintain kinship with people to a certain degree in order to sustain communities, family, and whatnot. So Valentina every day is proving she's not fit for office. The group of the people she hates is larger than those she loves. She abandoned her country. She claims to be, I'm a patriot for America. Lady, you were birthed on a foreign soil and abandoned it so that you could come to America and get people to hurt each other. She stirs the pot. She wants people to lash out. She wants the ICE Gestapo to harm Muslims by snatching them up in those unmarked vehicles and then deporting them. Simply for being Muslim. And she thinks that the retribution, the Pandora's box rather, that she opened will never touch her or her family members that she loves. It's really bizarre. Truly bizarre. I hope that she doesn't win her election and she fades into the, dustbin. That she doesn't really get a platform anymore. But Tommy Robinson and Laura Loomer have promoted this lunatic. And that's something that I find to be even more bizarre. Now, those two people are horrendous individuals. But the fact that they would want to promote someone who's just openly hating people because of their race and faith, you're like, wow. You guys cannot deny the claims then. So when someone says, hey, you're this or you're that, they, oh, no, I'm not. Well, clearly you are, because birds of a feather flock together. And if you're promoting someone, that means you promote also what they say. And if you're not denouncing them, you're promoting them. The guilty by association can apply in some cases. I couldn't imagine trying to help white supremacists and Christian nationalists target people and thinking that they'll never backfire. Absurd. And also, Ron DeSantis has been leaning into the anti-immigrant. He's against Latinos. He's against Muslims. He's against Arabs. He's against the Chinese. So, the list of how many people can we hate in the right-wing rhetoric so that they can prepare for running for the presidency is pretty intense. The left wing has actually been proven right. And I'm embarrassed to say that. I used to make fun of the liberals. Oh, you're calling them Nazis and fascists. I thought, that's stupid. But now if you look at Trump, you're like, the MAGA cult's really just letting it all hang out because they're high on their own supply. They feel untouchable. Now they're opening up the floodgates of their own vulgarity and showing that, no, actually they did think that all along. And they kind of played a strategic game of deny it. And then when you're in a safe position, flaunt it. So it's really quite sad. I feel bad for people who they're just going about their daily lives, and you have lunatics like Valentina Gomez out here encouraging harm, wrath, hatred, prejudice, and bigotry towards them, when they could be really good-hearted people. Just, wow. I don't know how she sleeps at night. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. I mean,